from a short story I'm currently working on called My Grandmother's Inheritance. I really struggle to find something angry because I really write really depressed, or really sad and shit in my stuff. So it's not really angry, but All right, here we go. Oh, and one thing. So this is a third kind of a third into the story itself. So there's stuff that's already happened, and it's told from the point of view of a 21-year-old girl. So here we go. Spider-like cracks are splayed delicately across the dirt-caked bottom of my grandmother's feet. She never wears shoes and will only tolerate butter sleepers on her feet. Her legs beneath her flowered blue dress are slight and stick-like, the skin dry and ashen, cracked here and there. Another spiderweb pattern that's less intricate but with thicker lined webs, reaching deep past rubber-toned skin, tinged with ivory-colored epidermis. Her legs don't dig into my lap where they lie. They are light, and I feel cold emanate from them, seeping past my jeans, and I am sweating dread. My father is on the other end of the car seat, holding his mother up against his chest, his arms big and wide across her middle as he whispers in Kikuyu things I have never heard him say aloud before. Maito, dukara kare, maito honatu, dukamake maito. No nyoshuru nashaitu, maito. He is sorry, he says, for not taking better care of her, but he will now. He will buy her better furniture for her little house, and she can have oshiro and tea only all day if she likes. He won't ask her to eat anything else. His words stumble over each other, his eyes brittle bright as he looks straight ahead at me, but I know he doesn't see me. He occasionally takes up one hand from her midriff and adjusts her blue headscarf. I helped her tie it securely to the nape of her neck this morning. She likes to hide what's left of her sparse gray kinks of hair. The knot has come loose, and with her lolling head, it slips past her forehead and covers most of her face. My father doesn't succeed in pulling it back enough so I can see if her eyes are open. The road is rough and bumpy, and I tighten and loosen my hold on my shosho's legs as we move along, adjusting her so she doesn't slip off the seat, so her dress remains decently covering her legs and thighs. I needn't worry. My father's grip on her upper body won't allow for that to happen. It's nighttime and my mother has to drive this fast because this road is known for car hijackings and kidnappings at night. There is no other need to rush. We all know it. In the glow of the car's light, I see my mother's face, wet, tight with unleashed grief. I place my hand briefly on her shoulder, put it back to warm my shosho's knee. Both are cold, knobby, and agonizingly familiar. She visits me each night, her finger pointing accusingly at me from the foot of my bed. So I get out of my bed, pace my room, then walk out into the hallway, avoiding her eyes, dodging that finger. Once in the hallway, I am always startled to hear the unfamiliar sound of muffled sobs coming from my parents' bedroom, followed by my mother's soothing sounds. The house has been overtaken by friends and relatives, mostly from my mother's side of the family, coming to help cook, soothe, clean, cry for and with us. My brother and his wife got home last night to find a house disarrayed by grief. Despite his jet lag, Stephen has automatically worn the coat of firstborn son and started to see to the details of the funeral, taking over from my grieving father. My father's family has not visited. My grandfather has not even returned the call my father placed to him when we got to the hospital at the end of that harrowing car ride. It has been 4 days. Today, Stephen has organized a contingent of male relatives to go visit my grandfather to arrange for the burial on my grandmother's land, her inheritance. My mother and I will be bathing Shosho, picking out the casket, selecting her burial clothes, choosing scripture to be read at her service, speaking with women, friends, and relatives to ask for their help in the singing, and reaching out to male cousins, uncles, others, to ask for protection when we take Shosho home to her resting place. We cannot be sure if my brother Stephen will be, and his contingent will be successful today. But we know she must be buried where she was initially married, on her own land. Her ghost stands with us as we look at her body, lying 3 down on a wide table filled with other loved and unloved ones in the Nairobi City morgue. The morgue assistants stand back, peering above their surgical masks, arms folded at their chests as we move the other bodies aside to get some room to pick her body up. Some of the dead's eyes are open and accusatory as our plastic-covered hands push their soft, decaying parts as gently away from my grandmother as we can. The morgue is full. The walls are lined with a mixture of white plastic front fridges and a smattering of stainless steel fridges. They are all occupied. In the middle of the room are long wooden tables, once painted a shade of white. Peeling flakes now sticking to those piled on them, those dead. They lie almost side by side, but really mostly lying partly on top of each other. Only people who have been here longer than a week get the fridges. This room is not as cold as it should be, and even with our masks, the stench is unbearable. My cousin vomits into her mask, too slow to remove it before she hurls her breakfast out, and she runs out tearing it off her face, retching even more. So we carry my grandmother out onto a vacant table in a room adjacent after paying off the morgue director and a few of the assistants. It's refrigerated and the cold nips at our skin, sending ripples down our forearms that we soothe with our fingertips and arms wrapped around ourselves. As we begin our morbid task, my mother is stoic, and I love her fiercely as she gives instructions with silently dropping tears to my now recovered cousin, my aunt, and myself. Shosho's ghost holds my hand and pats it. The heat of the room she had been lying in has caused her muscles to lose elasticity, and her slack cheek now pulls the edges of her eyelids down on either side of her face, flattening her features to an almost unrecognizable combination. I start to sob and lean forward to kiss her sagging cheek. My mother unbuttons the flower dress quickly, efficiently, and with my aunt's help lifts my grandmother's body to remove the sleeves off her limp arms. Next is her bra. She doesn't have any panties on since she had abandoned them in my hand when she was last alive. I untie the knot of her headscarf and slip it off carefully. Her hair is still soft and sparse and gray. The basin of water is brought in by morgue assistant, and I take one of the soft cloths we brought with us, dip it into the icy water, and start on her feet. The others too start on other parts of her body. We cannot scrub too hard. She is already too soft. The spider patterns on her feet and calves will have to be buried with her. But I wash in between her toes, their length so long. I remember my father teasing her that she could hold a cup with them. I remind my mother of the story. The stories continue as we work, wiping, dipping, caressing my grandmother's skin, going over the open lesions that cover much of her inner thighs. We remember her as she was before, not like she was at the end. And she, this woman who's left us, watches us, walking to each of us to rest her head on my mother's chest, put an arm around my aunt, touch my cousin's cheek, bend down and kiss each of my toes as I hold each of hers and wipe around each cuff.